Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the TWSN Weekly Recap Show. My name is Rishi Kody. I'm your host, joined here with
Cody Everts. That is me. I'm super excited, Rishi. Let's get this going.
Yep, let's go. So in today's show, we're kind of just going to be headlining the main sports, the themes, the headlines that were going on across the NFL, the NBA, a little bit of MLB, kind of just touching on subjects that, most sports fans should know. And so starting off today, we're going to be talking about the NBA, the Brooklyn Nets, right? Every single week, it seems like they just keep on getting stronger. Just recently, Blake Griffin forced his release out of the Detroit Pistons, and obviously the Brooklyn Nets picked him up. And, he really adds an interesting element to that team because right now it seems like they have so many star players, right? KD, Kyrie, James Harden, and now Blake Griffin. Of course, it adds a lot of, veteran presence to the team. And there's been a lot of debate about Blake Griffin's durability, right? Is he still healthy? Can he still jump? Is he going to be as productive as he was in his early Detroit days or maybe his LA Clippers days? And a lot of those seem like pretty big question marks because, Blake Griffin seems like he's been out of the NBA scheme for a long time now. But it'll be interesting moving forward to see how the Brooklyn Nets actually do in the playoffs, right? They could be forced in a tough, second round matchup with maybe Detroit or Miami. Sorry, not Detroit. Philadelphia or Miami. So it'll be interesting to see what type of presence these acquisitions add, right? They've also been signing a lot of bench depth. So Andre Roberson, Iman Shumpert, lots of interesting factors that are going to be headlining probably the biggest win now team there is, right? I mean, we're talking about a team that acquired all their talent to win this year, right? They're not talking about the future, what's going to happen 2 or 3 years down the road. So it really adds an interesting aspect to this NBA season. And of course, teams are getting ready to make their final playoff push. The Western Conference, the bottom of that Western Conference is getting pretty crazy. Of course, with the play-in tournament, you've got the Warriors. We just saw Steph Curry last night. He was pretty heated at his teammates, right? He's starting to get frustrated at how inefficient that team is. So it'll be interesting to see how these teams are all coming together into their final form for the playoff push. It's definitely something to keep your eye out for as the NBA season heats up towards the end.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, just like you were saying, you're ready to see if Blake Griffin's legs can bounce back to the way they were a couple of years ago. I'm ready for the bounce back of the MLB. There was a 60-game season last year. We're just going to do a quick recap of what's going on right now. There's 20 days until opening day. We are sitting in spring training, and a lot of MLB fans know that spring training, there's a lot of, I feel great, the best I've ever felt, but that's just wishy-washy, and we're ready for the season to get started. Some exciting guys you need to look out for are Mike Trout, obviously, in my opinion, going to be the best baseball player of all time, and it's sad that a lot of people don't even know his name if you just walked into a store and asked someone if they knew who Mike Trout was, but that's okay. Fernando Tatis Jr., the young shortstop out of San Diego on an exciting Padres team, he's going to make some noise again this year. Juan Soto is going to be one of the best hitters of all time, in my opinion. Another thing coming from Greg Wilson, a guy on the Dropout Sports podcast with me. Thank you, Greg. And number 3, I just want to highlight Trevor Bauer signing with the LA Dodgers. I'm ready to see if the hype can continue, and he got a lot of talk coming his way this offseason. Let's see if he can continue it. But I'm really excited for that. And talking about exciting, Rishi, free agency is about to start, man. For the NFL, it's going to be exciting. There's a lot of money that's going to be thrown around. There's a lot of good teams ready to spend money on good players. And number 1 on those good players for me is Kenny Golladay. So much potential, an athletic beast when it comes to the receiver position. He's on the Detroit Lions. He's ready to go to a different place, and I think that place is the New England Patriots. He's going to thrive there with Cam Newton, hopefully, and get a big deal to join the New England Patriots. Hopefully, he can make it there, but we'll see. There's a lot of landing spots for Kenny, in my opinion. But number 2 for me is a guy that I can't stand chasing my quarterback, and Joe Burrow. I cannot stand it. And Bud Dupree, please lead the Steelers, and I think he will. But sadly, I think he's going to join the Cleveland Browns. The dude is a beast in the trenches, and I think him and Myles Garrett, and I just see Bud Dupree as a guy to just move to Cleveland and make a big impact there, even though he came off a big injury. I'm excited to see where he goes, even though I cannot stand watching him go after Joe Burrow. Number 3 for me is a guy that has been kind of underwhelming in his early career is Corey Davis, who was taken in the first round by the Titans. I am ready to see him explode. And where is he going to explode? The Baltimore Ravens, another AFC North team. They need a receiver, and I think they're going to think he's a bargain at the price they're going to get him for. And I think he's going to go there and get his first season of 1,000 yards or more. And yes, I do think that's going to happen with Lamar Jackson, the guy that people think is a running back. So what do you think, Rishi?
Yeah, well, first off, speaking of NFL free agency, there's going to be lots of news, lots of reports, rumors, trade mills. Make sure that you guys are downloading the TWSN app. Follow us on Twitter, TWSN. There's lots of great content creators. We're going to be covering, obviously, the NFL free agency, everything that comes around with it, the rumors, visits, contracts, extensions, everything. Make sure that you're downloading the app, following us on TWSN to stay updated. Now, for the actual subject, NFL free agency, we've already seen a lot of moves happen, specifically on the quarterback end, right? This morning, we just saw Cam Newton sign a 1-year, $14 million extension. And, a lot of people are thinking that that's a pretty hefty contract for a guy who really played at the bottom of the league tier. But, some people have to realize that $14 million is very little for a quarterback, right? Marcus Mariota is a backup who just made $10 million in his last season with Las Vegas. And so $14 million, I view it as a pretty good contract for, someone who's got potential. He's going to be in the new scheme. He has a full summer, offensive training camps, OTAs, everything, new game plan. He's already had experience with the coaching staff, coordinators. There's lots of potential for upside. A lot of people thought that Cam Newton was just completely washed, and rightfully so, right? They can think about that because he possibly had probably a bottom 5 quarterback year out of all starting quarterbacks. So it'll be really interesting, right? That's a very high boom, very low bust potential, right? And then, staying on the focus of quarterbacks, we just saw Tom Brady sign another 4-year extension, which is just ridiculous. I mean, he seems like he's just going to play until he's in a wheelchair, like something physically has to restrain him from playing. If he's standing up, he's most likely going to be playing. Kind of ridiculous to see his 4-year extension. When I woke up, I checked my phone. I was extremely shocked. But obviously, he's going to be dominating. The Tampa Bay team seems like it's only getting stronger, right? They just franchise tagged Chris Godwin. It'll be interesting. And then, of course, Patrick Mahomes and everything that's going on in the Chiefs, right? Just 1 year ago, they gave him the huge, $500 million 10-year contract. And I think the Chiefs are starting to see a lot of repercussions of that contract, right? They just cut 2 Pro Bowl offensive linemen. They just had to restructure Mahomes' contract to save them $20 million in cap. And, touching on offensive linemen, this year's free agency class is really unlike any other year that we've seen before, right? The amount of offensive line talent and just talent in general across, skill positions, wide receivers, running backs, it's just ridiculous because with the low cap limit that was enforced this year, teams are really being forced to make tough decisions on veterans that they probably wouldn't have cut before, but now they are, right? You're talking about Trey Turner, who was just released by the Chargers, and he's coming off a Pro Bowl season, right? In a normal year, you don't expect to cut a Pro Bowler, and he's not even on a terrible contract, right? But these teams are really pressed to make financial decisions, and a lot of people think that this is bad for the league. In a certain way, this could be good, right? We're going to see lots of rearrangement of talent, and that means that teams who were probably not expected to compete for a Super Bowl can really arise out of the dark because they can acquire some great talent for really cheap prices and all around just improve the level of their team. So it's going to be very interesting. And kind of moving away from free agency but staying in the NFL side, the biggest dramatic story that there is right now in the NFL is Russell Wilson, right? What's going on in Seattle? And there's been reports every week of Russell Wilson demanding this, and there's philosophical differences. And right now it seems that Russell Wilson is frustrated, right? Everyone knows that he's frustrated. He's highlighted the offensive line as one of the major reasons that he is frustrated. He's frustrated with getting hit too much. And one of the teams that's really trying to take advantage of his frustrations and trade for him is the Chicago Bears, right? We're talking about a Bears staff that is filled with coaches who are on the hot seat, starting with Matt Nagy all the way down to their positional coaches, offensive coordinators. This is an offense that is staggered for the past 2 to 3 years, and they're really struggling. And I can totally envision them, pulling whatever types of strings and ropes they can to get Russell Wilson because he can save their job, quite literally. And it'll be really interesting to see how this progresses as free agency goes on, right? Of course, June 1st, we probably wouldn't expect the Seahawks to trade him before June 1st because of some cap limitations. But it seems like there's no really resolve or there's no this doesn't seem like the situation is getting better from Seattle's standpoint. Every news report that comes out, it seems like Russell Wilson's getting more frustrated, or he's leaning towards a trade more. There's Twitter rumors flying all over the place from guys like Adam Schefter. So, that's obviously going to be blown up from the media pretty much from starting now going into the summer. It'll be really interesting. So, yeah, that's kind of just like a general recap of what to focus on in the NFL free agency. Again, for some of the new and maybe people who aren't as in depth on the NFL. So for some of you guys who are fans out there, just to put this into perspective for you guys, this is going to be a free agency that we really haven't seen before. So a lot of us don't really know what's going to happen because there's so much talent, so much cap, or so many cap limitations to correct that. So teams are going to have to pull some strings. They're going to have to test different ways. Of course, the draft is different, no combine. And it'll be really interesting. So that's kind of just a landscape of what's going on in the NFL. And to now transition into two articles that viewers should really, check out this weekend. Of course, to check them out, visit our TWSN app, or follow TWSN. And so, yeah, Cody, would you like to, showcase?
Yeah, thank you, Rishi. That was great. Great rundown of the NFL free agency. But going into, Kevin Redfield, one of my guys actually commented, bro, the flowers got me tripping. I believe he's talking about my shirt, but I'm really excited about that. But Kevin, do you know what has me tripping? The fact that there is a free mobile app called TWSN that you can download right now. I don't know if you said that. I definitely think you did, but we're going to say it again. Please download it because you got fire articles, as Logan Fulmer said about our fits, fire articles on there. And one that I want to highlight for this week is Nader, our guy Nader. He's pretty new to the company, but awesome guy. And he wrote about Deshaun Watson and some of his best fits where he needs to go. Where does he need to go, Rishi? What do you think? I'm not going to tell you right now because I think it's the Miami Dolphins. Okay, I'm ready for Tua and him to switch over to different teams. Okay, I think Tua can use a fresh start, and the Texans need a fresh start at quarterback. Okay, and I'm ready for Tua to switch over. But the reason that the Dolphins need Deshaun Watson is because he is a top 5 quarterback right now, and that's what they need to compete with the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. They're going to be great for years and years to come. Okay, that's a very, very good division, and the only way that the Miami Dolphins are able to compete is if they get Deshaun Watson. And imagine having Deshaun Watson and Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think that is a insanely exciting duo. Like, I don't know how they're going to use Ryan Fitzpatrick, but I feel like he's somehow going to make his way onto that team, and I'd like to see him even maybe on the goal line, maybe running in some touchdowns. I mean, that's a little wild, but please check out Nader's article on there. It's great. He talks about a negative and positive of each team that he has, and there's 3 teams on there. Please check it out. Good job, Nader. Appreciate it. What about you, Rishi?
Yeah, so kind of touching off that point, right? We started the show with the NBA, so might as well end it off with the NBA. And this is an article that was actually written by Pranav Shriman. And he touched a lot about Mikal Bridges and his underrated success that's really making Phoenix shine. Right, when you think of the Suns and why they suddenly resurged from absolute bottom of the Western Conference to the very top in less than an offseason, everyone likes to point to Chris Paul, right? He's the obvious addition. And while he was a great addition, right, there's certainly role players and who Pranav believes is on his way to becoming a star, and Mikal Bridges, right? He talks a lot about his defensive efficiency and what he's adding to the Phoenix Sun to exactly make them a top 2 team in the Western Conference. So he does a great job providing, advanced metrics, advanced stats, and correlations between on and off the courts, and his player efficiency rating. Does a great job mixing all those different stats and providing a unique view on, what's exactly making the Phoenix Suns successful, right? Everyone likes to point to Chris Paul and, just the generic assumptions, but he does a really great job of diving deep into it using film, using clips, and just blending all. It's beautiful data to really see in an article, right? Of course, give my man a follow on Twitter, Pranav Shriman. He obviously wrote an extremely great article. Check it out on the TWSN app and online.
Yeah, that's perfect. And 2 great articles. And Pranav is easily one of my favorite follows on Twitter. He is always active and always giving good advice and great NBA action, honestly. So, but I think that's all we got for the weekly recap. But real quick, Aiden actually said Watson will be a Carolina Panther. But I think what he meant to say is what a good deal it is to download the TWSN app because you got stuff like this we have been talking about. And we're posting weekly, so many articles, so many videos. Check out the YouTube channel. Download the app. Like I said, again, it's worth your time. And we will be back next week. Me and Rishi. Thank you guys, and I'll see you next week.
Peace.